Good evening from Castle Buildings at Stormont outside Belfast on the day of a truly momentous agreement, promising a fundamental change in the political relationship between North and South and between Britain and Ireland. An agreement that unites loyalist and Republican, unionist and nationalist, finally emerged after 2 years of talks and decades of violence and bloodshed.
I'm Dominic Hannigan, I'm a TD from Leith East and I'm also the chairman of the Good Friday Agreement Committee here in Leinster House. I'm going to Mindanao for 3 weeks to work as a volunteer on their peace process.
He'll be sharing his learning from the Northern Irish peace process with partner organisations in the Mindanao region of the Philippines. This is a really good example of how VSO works. We share learning across communities globally and we try and build people's capacity so that they can do what they can to fight poverty and fight conflict in their own communities.
Well, both VSO Bahaginan and VSO Ireland have identified peace in their country program planning. And so this is one area of concern that we thought VSO Bahaginan and VSO Ireland can both play a role. And Ireland peacemaking example is one of the most closely linked examples to the Mindanao peace process.
I've visited a few countries in the past as a member of a delegation of the Foreign Affairs Committee, of which I was a member. And I suppose the big difference between a visit like that and volunteering is that you really don't get your hands dirty when you're going on a state trip or when you're going on a trip with a Foreign Affairs Committee. You don't get to see behind the scenes, and you really only get to see what the organisers want you to see. If you're involved on the ground, if you're involved as a volunteer, you get to understand more about what's going on. You get to muck in, and I think the experience is personally it's more satisfying, but also I think it leaves you with a better understanding of what real life is like on the ground, as opposed to being shown perhaps what people just want you to see. I remember growing up in Ireland, and I remember every day you would turn on the radio and the first item on the news was, oh, somebody has been killed in Northern Ireland or a bomb has gone off in Northern Ireland. And I remember at the time, and many of my country people would feel like this, we despaired about whether or not an agreement would ever be reached.
The conflict in Northern Ireland is very similar to the conflict here in Mindanao, which has some religious bearings. In Northern Ireland, it is between the Protestants and the Catholics, while here it is between the Muslims in the southern Philippines and the majority Christian government.
Many of the root causes of conflict are similar worldwide. We don't have the same issue in relation to Rideau the inter-clan warfare and the tit-for-tat attacks between families.
I will defend my place because this is my identity. I think this is the metaphor of what is happening here. So the historical injustices that keep on repeating the cycle of violence that we need to address. And people must understand this to end the cycle of violence as well.
Put your hand up. Who knows the alphabet? Who knows the whole alphabet?
ABC.
Lagi silang nakakarinig ng putok, lalo na yung malalaking putok ng kanyon, pati yung mga bomba ng eroplano, so naririnig nila. So ang nangyari doon, lagi silang although na familiarized na sa kanila yung mga putok ng baril at saka yung mga klase ng mga baril, traumatized pa rin sila dahil parang natatakot sila pag may naririnig sila magkakagira na naman.
I spoke to a lady in Mindanao a couple of weeks ago. She described a Rido to me. The Rido led to 16 members of 2 families dying. And I asked her, why did the Rido stop? And she said, it stopped because there was nobody left to kill.
You can hear from our leaders from the NGO saying that they are already tired of running, being evacuees from time to time. And most of the people here now wanted peace.
I know the conflict here has been many decades, and many people will think that conflict is the natural order of events in Mindanao. It's not. It's important to recognize that peace is achievable. I would imagine that you're looking at options whereby you can achieve as much as possible without a constitutional change. I think it would be advisable if there were alternatives. It would be unfortunate if the issue of the constitutional change was the one stumbling block. If you could achieve so many things without changing the constitution, if you got so much of what you wanted without changing the constitution.
The government will not amend it.
Will not amend it. And they have not amended the constitution. So what happened to them anymore? They are now in the government. Practically every one of us in the government. They are integrated, but we are not seeking for integration. We are seeking for autonomy instead of independence. Well, the MILF is very serious in this negotiation. And we are focused on finding a solution to the problem. And we view the negotiation as problem effort. And our appeal to the government and to everyone that this negotiation must be focused on problem solving, not just managing the conflict. Because if we are focused on finding the real problem or the real solution to the problem in Mindanao, I think we would succeed.
That is true. If the people does not work for peace, the government will have a hard time.
But joy and euphoria aren't enough. What we've learned is that trust and understanding do not magically appear overnight once an agreement is signed. The agreement is just the start of the end of the troubles. The process goes on.
I spoke at 6 universities in my time in Mindanao, and we had crowds of 500 students in the auditoria, and they asked that question, should we leave this to politicians or can we be involved as well? And the answer, of course, is that it takes all sectors, all parts of society to reach an agreement. Don't expect peace to come down like that. Peace comes like that, and it comes like that, and it comes like that. So my message is that everybody has got a role to play. Having spent some time in Mindanao, I was struck by a few things. I was struck that there is there is a level of poverty there. There is very high unemployment, particularly in the autonomous region, in the Arm region. But I was also struck by the beauty of the island, and I listened to farmers describe about how fertile their land is, and I listened to others describe how every mineral known to man exists on Mindanao. I think there's huge potential.
I think agreements can be a mere piece of paper. Just what is happening in the Philippines, for instance, we have signed the 1996 peace agreement with the MILF, but because there was no true reform in the structures in the society, the problem remains. And Senator Hannigan actually has given us some specific examples on the different structures that were created after the signing of the Good Friday Agreement.
The conflict in Mindanao has gone on for many decades now, but I think we should recognise that progress has been made over the years, and that both sides of the dispute are now more aware of the issues that the other side holds dear in their hearts. So a start has been made. We have a saying in Ireland, "Tu smá lahanibra," which means a good start is half the work. I think we need to build on that, and we need to make sure that both sides continue talking, and eventually an agreement can be reached.
Peace can only be achieved when groups come back to the negotiating table and look for ways on how we can best address the conflict and disadvantage and poverty in Mindanao.